Another episode of The Bad Batch is out, and it's everything we could have hoped for. Per usual, there will be spoilers for the episode in this video, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, go do so. That's an order, trooper. Well guys, Gregor's back, and it looks like the plot of The Bad Batch is finally starting to come together. Today's episode gave us more insight into the situation on Kamino, more character development for The Bad Batch, and most importantly, more clones who seem to have lost their way. Or found it, rather. We're finally getting a good look at what our boy Rex has been doing behind the scenes this whole time, and in this video, we're going to give you our thoughts on what is planning and what's coming next.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
First things first, because we know people will ask, yes, that was indeed Scorch in that one fight sequence. It's good to see some old clone characters being brought back, even in passing. Scorch wasn't the only clone commando to feature in this episode, of course. Gregor played a major role in last night's story, and he may well have a role to play in the rest of the series too. This was hardly a surprise. We've known that Gregor hooked up with Rex after the end of the Clone Wars since Star Wars Rebels. Still, it's good to see him back, even if his voice is a little annoying now. Can't have everything, I guess. Gregor's appearance in last night's episode sheds some new lights on the actions of another of the Bad Batch's familiar characters. Captain Rex has been a bit of a secretive figure in the show thus far. He's bumped shoulders with the Bad Batch a few times, but mostly he's been off doing his own thing, which he's been careful to keep under wraps. It doesn't take much extrapolation to figure out that his pet project has been making a network of clone deserters, and this most recent episode pretty much confirms that. However, we've got reason to believe that Rex's deserter network is a lot more extensive than we originally would have guessed. As we've told you guys from the beginning, the clones haven't had their personalities completely overridden by the inhibitor chips, and as the case of Captain Hauser proves, clones deserting the Empire is a much bigger possibility than you might have previously thought. As it turns out, clones didn't even need their inhibitor chips removed to see that the Empire wasn't the Republic they were trained to protect, though that certainly helped. They still had mostly free agency, and plenty of clones used that agency to desert the Empire. It started with Rex and the Bad Batch, and we've since seen Hauser and Gregor, two clones who likely hadn't had their chips removed yet, join them. More clones surely are soon to come. The likelihood would have increased as it became clear that the Empire was replacing the Grand Army of the Republic. Provided that the last clones weren't going to be rounded up and euthanized before they learned secondhand, far more troopers would have surely ended up with doubts about the Empire once it became clear that the Empire had doubts about them. We know that Captain Rex has been making the rounds with known clone deserters already. He stopped in to check on Cutler Quain, he linked up with the Bad Batch, and, of course, he was monitoring Gregor as well. We know that Commander Wolf is going to join the crew soon, if he hasn't already, as Rex, Wolf, and Gregor were all together in Rebels. But they surely aren't the only ones. Rex has been far too busy to just end up with 2 recruits, and if the Ryloth incident was any indication, there were far more clones out there to recruit than just those 2 clones as well. We don't know how big Rex's network is yet, but it's a fair bet that it will end up being sizable, at least by the season finale. The big unknown is what exactly Rex is planning. From what we've seen, he's got quite the network of contacts at the very least. He was tuned in enough to pick up Gregor's beacon, after all, and he had the likes of the Martez sisters on his contact list too. Even if his network of deserters isn't all that big, he's got some serious logistics going on. What he's building might even be the start of the network a certain orange-skinned, head-tailed former Jedi will use to build up the Rebel Alliance a decade and a half down the line. Perhaps Rex was the first fulcrum, so to speak. Or perhaps he's got something else going on. Now, in a few of our previous videos about the Bad Batch, we discussed the possibility of a Kaminoan clone rebellion like in Legends. Clearly, the writers of the series have been building up to something like that. This most recent episode continues that trend, showing a worsening of relations between the Empire and Kamino, and the Kaminoans' steady realization that they were going to have to act sooner rather than later. Whatever their plans were, the Kaminoans are looking to escalate them. Of course, this episode also showed us that Whatever the Kaminoans planned on doing, they're not going to be able to take the Empire by surprise with it. Dialogue between Admiral Rampart and Crosshair suggested that the Empire might have plans to sterilize Kamino, much like we know they'll sterilize Geonosis when the Death Star is moved from that system. Furthermore, the Kaminoans' activities were discovered by the Empire in this past episode. Rampart now knows that the Kaminoans were trying to evacuate their scientists, and he and his men appear to have put a stop to it. They've also either imprisoned or executed Lama Su, the Kaminoan Prime Minister, meaning that the likelihood of the Kaminoans making an impactful effort to rebel is doubtful. But we might end up seeing a clone rebellion anyway, just not from Kamino. It's pretty clear from the writing, at least, that there's some sort of clone resistance coming. The primary message of the Bad Batch has been that good soldiers think for themselves and don't blindly follow orders that they know to be wrong. We've seen this in everything from the Bad Batch's desertion to the prevalence of clone deserters to Omega's constant disobedience of Hunter's orders. There's no question about it. There will be a clone uprising, and we believe Captain Rex will be leading the charge. There's no telling yet what form this uprising will take. Maybe the clones will take after Hauser and put on a brief strike before the new stormtroopers come to put them down. Maybe we'll see more cases like Cutler Quain's, where clones cut and run, leaving the Empire behind. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get to see the clones turn off their freaking stun settings on their blasters and burn a few well-deserved new holes in some Imperial officers. I mean, seriously, the Bad Batch knows that they're not fighting regs anymore, and yet they're still sticking with the stun guns at every turn. Surely they know that the cure for Imperial fascism is a nice warm blaster bolt. In seriousness though, it'd be really nice if the clones pulled a sort of reverse Order 66 on the Imperials and see how they like a little treason. Only time will tell, of course. However, no matter what form the coming clone uprising takes, we should keep in mind that it's gonna fail. It doesn't matter how big Rex's network gets. Over a decade and a half later, he's still gonna end up on an ATTE in the middle of nowhere with just Gregor and Wolf to keep him company and the Empire still empiring in the background. Whatever's coming, it's probably not gonna change the course of galactic history, at least immediately. It'll probably be more like a last stand for the good old Grand Army of the Republic, an honorable but fruitless endeavor. Well, that's a bit of a depressing note to end on. Look on the bright side though. We're probably going to see more familiar faces from the Clone Wars in the next few episodes. But overall, what do you guys think? What's your theory on how this season is going to end? There's only 2 episodes left after this, and we'll see you when the next one comes out. In the meantime, as always, feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.